Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Time to get started with today's webinar. Welcome to Finance Forward, Your Future with NetSuite. I'm Alan. I'll be your host today. I'm the Commercial Director at Eureka Solutions. We're one of the leading NetSuite partners in Europe, and I'll give you a bit more information about ourselves later on in the session. But a bit about me to start with. I have been with Eureka Solutions now for almost 18 years now, and I've been involved in the NetSuite side of our business since we became a partner 13 years ago now. And in that time, I've worked with the vast majority of our NetSuite customers. And again, I'll give you some more information about those customers and the benefits that we've realised for them towards the end of the session. In terms of housekeeping today, we are recording the session and we'll share that with you after the event. And we'll also open the floor for questions towards the end of the session. If you have any as we go through the session today, please enter those in the Q&A panel at any time. There's also a chat function there, so if you have any technical issues or anything, general questions, then please use the chat function and we'll come back to you there. So in terms of the agenda for today, we've got some guest speakers joining us today. We have Thomas Sutter from Oracle NetSuite. Thomas is the Industry Director of Finance Global Solutions. We also have Emma Parker, who's the Chief Financial Officer at Millwall Football Club, who's kindly joined us to talk about her experience with Eureka Solutions and implementing NetSuite last year. And then we'll have Rory Monroe providing a demonstration of NetSuite for you later on. All of the presenters are going to be focusing on some key themes, which are some of the reasons that we've invited you to the session today, and hopefully you will be able to identify with some of those challenges that we have seen our customers facing over the years and why they have chosen to implement NetSuite to get around those challenges. So first of all, before I hand over to Thomas, just wanted to highlight some of those reasons of why you might be looking to change your systems and why we invited you to the session today. What we find with our customers, especially those that are fast-growing businesses, is that the growth means that you're expanding the business, whether it's with additional staff or additional companies or even internationally. That introduces a bit more complexity to the business and other requirements that you might have that your current system can't keep up with. There might be investment in play, which means a different type of reporting and different company structure potentially to manage as well. And that leads to certain pain points that you would have with your current systems, which we tend to find are solved with a system such as NetSuite. So those kind of pain points include things like just your current system isn't up to scratch. You may be using a legacy system, an entry-level system, things such as Xero, Sage 50, QuickBooks, which can't cope with more complex requirements such as multi-company accounting, international accounting, foreign currency management, and consolidation. That leads to maybe a lack of visibility and control into the financial side of the business, the operational side of the business. As you expand, you have more staff who are maybe involved in things like a purchasing process, and you need a bit more control over the approval of purchasing and expenses, etc., across the business. In terms of real-time reporting, you maybe need more insight into different areas of the business as you grow and expand into different revenue streams, different geographical locations, even different events or matches, which Emma will speak about from a sports industry perspective. And what that leads to then is time-consuming manual processes, which mean that you're focused on entering information, taking information out of the system and having to work on reports rather than actually being able to analyze the information and focus on more added value tasks. So hopefully that resonates with you today. And what we'll cover today is some areas within NetSuite that will be able to help solve those challenges that you have. So I'd now like to just give a little bit of background to NetSuite, which I mentioned a couple of times. Some of you might be aware of NetSuite as a solution. Some of you might just be looking into potential options. So in terms of NetSuite as a solution, it has been around since 1998. It's always been a cloud-based financial management system and has been expanded out over the years to cover other areas, to provide a full ERP system, CRM system, even into e-commerce and project management and supply chain. And Rory will cover more of that in his session later on. what NetSuite provides is one system for all key business processes across finance and operations. But it's also a system that will grow and scale with you as your company grows as well. So NetSuite is used by over 41,000 customers worldwide now, from startup businesses to global enterprises with hundreds of entities across the world. So it's a true scalable system. And it also automatically updates every 6 months. So you're never left on an old version of the system either. So now I'd want to introduce Thomas. As I say, Thomas is from Oracle NetSuite, and he's Industry Director of Finance and Global Solutions. Thomas actually built his career in finance, so has been in your situation. He's seen the challenges that finance leaders experience from the business side. Now has worked for NetSuite for the last 9 years and provides advice on finance and global solutions. As part of Thomas's session, he'll introduce Emma, who's the CFO from Millwall Football Club. Emma worked with us in a NetSuite implementation last year and is going to talk a bit of her experience and the benefits that it has provided for Millwall. So yeah, over to you, Thomas. Thank you.
Hi, can you all see me? Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. And yeah, so again, great introduction. Yeah, I've worked in a lot of different companies. My specialty was reporting back to a US parent company. So I've been in Europe for over 25 years and would report back to that US parent company for their accounting standard, their currency and everything like that, their consolidation. But then I had to run the international operations, and I just did this in a lot of companies. The largest at the Fox Interactive Media was MySpace back in the days before Facebook and things. Um, but the last company I worked at with TrustWave, after 3 years, we implemented Oracle NetSuite, and I used it for 3 years as well. So I actually got to see a single kind of, finance team benefit, but then the entire company as well benefit from this. And we'll talk about this. So yes, my role here is, just to talk and be that finance and global solutions expert. And so one of the things I wanted to bring out now, Alan was just talking about the pain points. I slightly worded, different in some challenges, and because I'll talk about this, and Emma will talk about this with me. So effectively, let's just go back to the basics, right? Your first challenge is the accounting side. You've got all those accounting transactions to process. You need to make sure they're accurate. You need to be able to control things. So that's the accounting side. Once you've got the accounting side, a lot of companies don't really have the right things in place to really do the finance side of things effectively. So, business partnering is a term that came out probably in 1985. But a lot of small businesses weren't able to really do this that much because you would require, a dedicated person. You would require, much better systems that you didn't have available for small companies, back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s type thing. So the finance side is all the budgets, analyzing it, getting that data, and getting it out to the right departments, the board, the decision makers. And it's not just at a high level. It's being able to break it down into all types of information. All of that ends up being a challenge as well. And then the third one is kind of just changing, right? So in today's world, things are changing so much faster, and so that becomes a challenge as well, especially if you're in a kind of a fast-growing type company. Then you've got all those internal changes of what the goals are for the company and things like that. So let's just, I just wanted to kind of first introduce those business challenges so that when we now start to talk about, okay, well, what's needed for this? Only one of the three things is your technology. And to think of technology, go back all the way to the beginning when you had paper. So with paper, the innovation during paper would take a long time. If you just thought of an idea, I want to get more data onto each transaction, like add another column on a piece of paper for each, rows of transaction, it would take decades and longer for the entire industry to do this. So then you had that jump to the mainframe computers, but still, mainframe computers, not everybody was using it. It was limited and things like that. Couldn't change much. And then there was the jump to the personal computers and servers. And at this point, the innovation is going forward, but there were still some problems. And that's when, when the true cloud came along, which NetSuite started in the true cloud back in 98. It was the early days of the internet and the cloud and everything, but that's when they started. They had that vision. And so now you're getting things to be done much faster. And it's not just about where the information is being held, it's how is it able to be held? What's happening? They completely changed what goes on. And we'll talk about this a lot more because technology is one, but then you have your processes, and everything's a process. If a piece of paper lands on your desk, you need to do something with it. What's the process? Who needs to approve it? What do you do with it? All that kind of stuff. Everything is a process. So it can be internal in a system or external. And what the people are doing is the people are trying to not just run through the processes and deal with everything, but they're trying to make improvements. Okay, make better efficiency and things like that. And so they need to get things that are external and put them internal in the system. And if it's internal, how do we improve the visibility, the efficiency, and how do we control things better? And so putting all these kind of three together is that the people now, because again, back in the personal computer and software, personal computers and servers with all the software, it was really hard for people to make changes. And that's again one of those things I'm saying has changed. It's not just about it being in the cloud, but it's the people are able to make changes. And if you ever hear the term true cloud, because sometimes people will say, yes, I'm in the cloud, but that's still the personal computer or server that's just held in a different location. Kind of the true cloud is that when you go on to, for instance, your banking or a social media site, you don't have your dedicated server. It's, it's all being shared. And that's kind of the true cloud. And that way, everybody is actually on the same version of that software and things like that. So, which means product teams can now build things and get it out to everybody. And everybody's able to. And again, now they also did it so that you don't have to like code things. And just to add a field onto a document or to change a report, it's not about that hard code. It's low code or no code. Or if you go on to the next part of having all this data and automation, now you're even getting to the point where there's going to be AI code, where yes, you need to write a code, but you can just tell the AI system what it is, and it's all AI assisted. And so then it writes the code, you can put it into your sandbox, you can test it, and then put it into your production account. Things like that. So all this kind of stuff is kind of all in place, and it's just kind of that foundation. And so and that's why I wanted to now bring on Emma. So Emma, wanted to have a conversation with you because of your experience and everything that you're going through. So you're still doing it. I'm luckily I'm able to talk about it, but I don't have to do it. So please introduce yourself, brief background of where you worked before you joined Millwall Football Club.
Yes, thanks, Thomas. Yeah, so I'm currently the Chief Financial Officer at Millwall Football Club. I've worked at a few clubs actually. So previous to this, I worked at Crystal Palace as head of finance for about 10 months. And then prior to that, I was FD at Charlton Athletic in League One. So yeah, been in football for a while, but my background before football was actually in investment banking. I worked for Commerzbank, a German investment bank in their very large finance department. So yeah, sort of seen two sides of industries. Obviously, Commerzbank was very corporate. So as I mentioned, much in part of a larger team where you're a small cog in a large team that makes it all work. Over to football where the teams are very small. It's very not a corporate environment at all, and very much, it's very reactive and so fast paced. And so, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I saw that when I joined the Fox Interactive Media with MySpace, going from nice shirts to just wearing T-shirts and a sports jacket, and having all these young kind of kids, fast paced, growing, super fast type thing is completely different from those other smaller companies that I've worked with that you're kind of at now. So when you think back to earlier in your career, what kind of problems did you have trying to find that right balance between technology, process, and people? And maybe it was similar to my experience where, you just try to find the right people and you knew how to get the job done, right? That's what accountants do. We know how to get the job done, regardless of what technology we have. So we would just get the right people in and then create processes to get the job done, dealing with control as best as possible. So yeah, well, how was your earlier career?
No, well, absolutely, I agree. Especially if we talk about in recent years in football clubs where I am now, the perception that football clubs is that they're very cash rich because people see the players on the field who earn an extortionate amount of money for what they do. But generally, in the back office side of football clubs is very on a tight purse string, should we say? It's very efficient in what it does. So you absolutely have to have the right people in your very small teams because there's no room for slack. You have to just get the job done and without the right people to lean on and expect them to go above and beyond what they should be doing. Really, it's that you have to have that collaboration with them and be able to delegate things that you think, well, okay, some things, say in a fast-paced football you've never seen before, but you just have to roll your socks up and get on with it. So yeah, I think it's all about having the foundations of the right people first. Yes, great if you can give them the technology that allows them to deliver is a bonus, but as you say, it's getting the people, getting the processes down to a T, and the rest follows.
And now that you're at a company like this, right, you've got that good foundation. So let's go back to that first kind of challenge I was mentioning, which was the accounting tasks. You're talking about processing AP and AR, watching cash flow. You're also processing transactions at the period close. And you're closing the books and so on. So just how has your team dealt with this on the accounting side?
Well, yeah, for me, the transaction side is the most important side of the finance sort of bubble, if you want, because without the AP and the AR, you've got no accurate accounts. It's all about what's their reports. And yes, it's not the sexiest side of football, side of finance, sorry. It really isn't, but it is so necessary. Before we implemented NetSuite, it was a very long-winded process. We had several systems doing several different things, and it was very clunky. Suppliers would get fed up with us. Even internally, outside of finance, they couldn't understand why things took so long to process. So since we've put NetSuite in, I wanted a all-in-one system that we could start and finish with. So, now we've got a setup that all our expenses go through NetSuite. We've put in a PO approval process, which we didn't have before. We had invoice approval, but even that was only electronic in the last 3 years. And before that, it was very much still going around with a piece of paper, getting them signed off. So that's why things would go missing. So the PO process is revolutionised this actually. And yes, it's a culture change for people. Oh, I can't, why am I doing this? This is a waste of time. But it really isn't, because the speed that we can actually process invoices now is unreal. Suppliers are fully on board, getting their POs done, because they know if they get that beforehand, it's quicker getting the payment at the end. So, our AP is the best it's been in a long time, in terms of about, trade creditor days and things that we're paying as well. On the accounts receivable side, the processes that NetSuite allows to put in, where we can put automatic reminders in that go out to people, it means that we're not constantly chasing people. And we generally find that once those reminders go out, we've set them at I think 7 days before, 2 days after, 9 days after, we are generally paid. You can see through the bank, when I'm checking the bank, it's the next day that they're actually paying. So the cash flow coming in has been improved as well, which is, it's just, yeah, I can't tell you the difference.
And that's what gets me all excited. Like I'm jealous and thankful at the same time, because I'm talking with you and I can see how, oh, this is amazing. So I'm very jealous that, oh, I wish I was there to be part of this journey. I'm also thankful at the same time I don't have to go through all that kind of work, the hard work that I remember. And so still staying on with the accounting side, the other part I had was control. So I don't think you've had since you've been using NetSuite, you haven't had a kind of an audit yet, an external audit. But what have you seen already with internal auditing, and what do you expect when you do have that year-end audit?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, we're a very small team. We've got a team of 4, which we're hoping to add to in the future, because now this has allowed more time for everything else. We're looking at different projects, but I mean, internal audit, we're about to undergo an interim audit for our December figures. So we implemented NetSuite in October. So we're still very much in the infancy of using it. But I'm already seeing that this interim audit is going to be so much easier. We can actually give them access to NetSuite, which is part of the package that we took out. Being able to drill down on transactions, think, oh, what's that? Going down straight to the invoice or the receipt for the expense, and it pops up in the window once you've pressed it. I mean, that just couldn't be done before. It was, kept in a different system. We had one person that had overall admin access to that, so they were the only ones that could get invoices out. It was just such a long-winded process back and forth. Oh no, this is not the right invoice. Can you get that? Even when I'm doing my sort of month-end review of what the guys have produced for management accounts, if I've got any questions, I can go straight in and click on it and see what the transaction relates to. And if there's an error, it's in the wrong place, I can change that as well. And so I don't always have to then feed back, and it's cutting out time doing that. So around the control side, pre-NetSuite, we didn't have a budget in a ledger system. So there was no live tracking against budget at all. It was very much done after the event. But now, because of we've got the live budgets in there, we can split and dice them how we want them. As soon as AP and AR are processed, approved, posted, it's affecting the live system. So someone, the media team calls me and says, oh, I want to book some travel, or have I got any left in my budget? You're not having to, oh, hang on, well, last month or the month before, you had £1,000, that you could use, but I don't actually know what it is now. Well, now I can go in the team can go in and say, oh, well, actually, you're close to your budget. You might have, maybe only a couple of hundred. So just be aware of that. So it really has, the budgeting process and the actual to spend, actual to budget is again, I want to say revolutionary for this club. Budget tracking wasn't a thing, and now it definitely is.
Yeah, and the audit side of things, we had a VAT audit, and we literally gave them access, view-only access to just that subsidiary, showed them how to drill into it. We didn't even talk to them. They literally came out hours later saying, we're all done. It's fine. Like, we didn't even have to talk with them. And for the external audit that we hired the auditors to come in, I remember there were areas that would take us forever to kind of work on and do things. And now it was like, give them view-only access. We had intercompany. We had a lot of intercompany type stuff. And for that, they didn't even have to talk to us. They were able to see and deal with all their kind of steps really quickly themselves. And just the less time auditors spend on it not only saves us time, but it's the cost of the audit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the invoices that we find that we can store. You can drag and drop, as many documents as you want relating to a transaction. So we have a lot of player transfer agreements, that will roll over year to year. We have sponsorship agreements, which always comes up in audit. Where does this income from? So we're at the point now that we're loading them on as well and just drag and dropping them, and it's there and it'll be there forever. And it's not having to dig them out every 6 months from a folder somewhere.
Exactly. And so I love that control idea. And also, you were touching on the budgets, and so that's kind of you've got the good foundation. You're dealing with the accounting side, control. And so I just want to go into a little bit more on this whole finance side with the budget. So, analyzing the data, and you even mentioned a little bit of business partnering already with other departments, because you're talking about how they have the visibility of where they're at compared to actuals versus budget and things like that. And those things usually don't get down to a granular level. Usually, if there's not a good foundation, like you said, you didn't even have it in the system. And if you did do a comparison, it was literally at the highest level of comparing budget to actual or something like that. And so, and I guess this will lead on to my next kind of question. And so what I'll do is, let me go back here and I'll share a screen here. Okay. So, because you were already talking about the improvement side, because everything you've said, Emma, so far is kind of what you've gotten, because, out of the box with NetSuite. So all those processes and things like that. there's a lot of standard processes and dashboards and roles, and everything just comes out of the box. And you went through an implementation and changed a few things before you went live that were important for you. Um, and now you're getting familiar with the system and using it. And so your staff have that little bit of extra time. And so now you're able to start doing a little bit more with the system. And this is to me, this is the power of NetSuite. I mean, everything else we talked about was great. I actually see this as more of the ability for you to make improvements yourself. And if you think to in America, they have SOX compliance, which is all about the controls. Why do so many businesses like that use NetSuite? These large type companies who have done their IPO, public facing, it's because when they do a SOX audit, there is no like perfect SOX audit. What SOX are saying is, okay, you need to make some improvements. You've got some weaknesses. And every time you have another SOX audit, you need to show that you've made improvements. And that's why they're using NetSuite. But this is now available for all the small companies. So this right here, I've got a QR code on here because we kind of sponsored this info brief that IDC did. And you can review this and access this here with this QR code. And I also showed at the end as well. But they kind of went through this, and they had a bit in there where they talked about the people, process, technology. They included data as well as a fourth. I kind of think of data actually as all around it, right? People, process, technology are all dealing with data. And it's all talking about must work in harmony, but it's all talking about being able to make those changes and swiftly and things like that. And you have to imagine if you have an idea of something your business wants to do, something different, go into another region, expand, whatever it is, you also have to think that your competition is also thinking the same thing. And so who can get there first? Who can get there, and when they get there first, who can get it done right? Because just because you get it first, you might get it wrong. So you want to be there as quick as possible and get it done right. And the finance team, if you have that balance of technology, process, people, able to improve visibility, efficiency, control, the finance team could actually say, actually, we're not going to hinder you because we don't have the right system in place yet. Actually, we not only do we have the right system, but we know how to improve it. We know how to make changes. We could do this even better than you thought we were going to be able to do. And we'll be able to help give you data so that you have things live, not just at month end at a high level, but we can do things granular, et cetera. And so, with something like that, that's kind of this idea of the improvement. So what I want to do, Emma, was kind of say, get some more examples for yourself. So, has your team done some of these improvements? And maybe it was with the budget or something like that. And was it visibility or efficiency, control, kind of where are you? Yeah, what have you done so far or you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, we've had significant amounts of improvements, and not just, what we produce, but in the attitude of staff as well. So the improvement to staff morale in the finance team has been one of the biggest shift changes probably that I've seen. Before we had NetSuite, it was a very convoluted process, very clunky, took ages to produce a set of management accounts. So the time it's produced, it's already 2 months out of date, and then it's useless information. Everyone else has moved on, and you're still constantly looking back at the past, trying to explain what happened 2 months ago. So what we've managed to do is cut that time down. Like even today, I've been sent the draft of the management accounts for February, which 13 days after the month end is unheard of for us. Going from 2 months behind to reporting within a couple of weeks is fantastic. And the morale of the staff, they definitely feel like finance is generally one of the last areas that ever really get an investment. Especially in a football ground, in a football environment where it is all about what's happening on the pitch, and everything else just must happen around it. And our results are judged on the pitch and not, maybe what numbers we produce. So the finance team can sometimes generally feel like, the surplus are there to deal with the auditors, and that's about it. But now, we've seen that my head of finance has actually held business partnering meetings with all the heads of departments, going through their budget, where they are now. We've managed to do a forecast to the end of the year, which we couldn't really do before because you couldn't see you couldn't pick out trends because you were so behind. But now, the control around the budgeting and the flag that we have that we set on the POs, that it flags to people if they're going over budget on a certain line, has just made everyone so much more aware of the budget process and why it is important, and then they're feeding into the bigger picture. So yeah, producing management accounts in a timely manner has given more time for the finance team to do other things apart from just churning out the numbers. They're looking to start analysing. The board has now been sent a monthly update, which they was only getting every sort of 3 months before. I'm looking to sort of put in a dashboard of other non-financial sort of stats. We've set up statistical accounts, which we've set up in the implementation, but are yet to be used, where I want to draw from other sources of data. We outsource our retail. We're about to outsource our catering. So there's going to be other things. The board are interested in not just the cash figures, which is probably the most important thing for them at the time, but they want to know more interesting things like the number of pints we sold at half time, or the number of shirts we've sold in the shop. And I want to be able to put that into our centralized finance ledger system and give them a nice fancy dashboard. So that's probably the next on the horizon for me in the next coming months. And I want to integrate other systems that we have, and I think NetSuite and the BSyncly app that's on there will allow us to integrate our ticketing system, Ticketmaster, in, as well as integrate our payroll. So before this, we didn't have time to do any of that. It was churn it out, get it done. But now, say, it's released so much more time to think about what could we put in improvements, and to say we're very much in the infancy of this, and there's so much more we can do.
And that's the whole idea, is that now when you think, I'd love to be able to give other people some information that's going to help influence their decision making and help the benefit. That's, and now you just have to think, okay, what data do I need? Where am I going to put it in the system? How am I going to get it there? And creating the report is the easy part, because the report is just saying, of the entire database, what records and transactions do you want to put into the report? And then how do you want it to look? But it all goes back to the data type thing. And this is the whole point where kind of today is the triple A, right? This is the age of accountants and auditors. And, again, it's about, like Emma, you were just saying, being happy and stuff, right? You're not continuing as you were before. But these people that work with you, they have experience. They have education, then they have experience. They actually know your industry, and they actually know your company as well. And so, you've got that good foundation of visibility, efficiency, and control. You're able to now making changes and everything like that, and all these improvements that you can make, especially if we're talking about that fast growth, right? This is an ever-changing world that we're in now. It's not the future of finance. This is today. And if Winston Churchill and all those great people can have quotes, then I'm going to put my name on this one as well. I couldn't find it anywhere in Google that somebody said today's the age of accountants and auditors. That's kind of my final statement. Emma, do you have any type of other final statement that you want to give the audience?
Yeah, I think, if you're thinking about investing in it, investing, don't just look at it as a cost to do. You're investing in the people. You've got to give them the right tools to move the business forward. And really, short-term pain of system implementation is well worth the long-term gain, in my idea.
No, that's great. And thank you very much, Emma. I'm so excited of seeing how happy you and the staff are. It's kind of like when you talk about the technology and things. I used to love a BlackBerry. I had the QWERTY keyboard, loved it. And then that first time I got the iPhone and started using it, and I will always have a place in my heart for that older technology. I loved it. It was great back then. It will always be a part of me. However, I couldn't go back to using that type of thing anymore. And so it sounds like, you and your staff have seen this, and now you just want to keep going and making improvements and using it. And that's great to hear. So those things, thank you, Emma, for sharing your story with us.
No problem.
Excellent. Thanks very much. So I believe it's on to me now. I'll just share my screen so that you can all see. You should be seeing that now. So hello, and thank you very much for joining us here today. My name is Rory Monroe. I've been a solution consultant here at Eureka Solutions for about a year and a half now. And today I'll be showing you how NetSuite provides organizations like yours with unparalleled visibility, efficiency, and control over their operations, which bleeds on nicely from the discussion between Thomas and Emma there. Before we get into the demonstration, just a bit of an overview in terms of NetSuite functionality. So, like many of the businesses that we've helped already, you may be struggling for a number of reasons, such as disconnected systems, manual processes, and a lack of real-time insights. If these are left unanswered, these challenges can often evolve into much more serious issues, such as data inconsistencies, inefficient processes, and lost revenue opportunities, which of course every business wants to avoid. However, NetSuite customers can rest assured that they are working from a fully integrated cloud-based ERP system that allows all departments to operate from a single unified database rather than separate systems. As you can imagine, this comes with a long list of business benefits, such as elimination of data silos, real-time visibility across all users within the organization, improved collaboration between departments and business entities, and data-driven decision-making. As you'll see from the diagram on the screen just now, NetSuite offers a range of key business functions that would be expected from an advanced ERP system. Within each department, NetSuite offers automated processes and approval workflows to ensure that your business maximizes efficiency and eliminates manual data entry, which can, as we've described before, lead to inaccuracies in data. Not only does
Sorry to interrupt, Rory, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I do apologize.
Thank you.
Let me know if you could see that okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Jamie, for letting me know, and apologies that you weren't seeing that, but you'll now see the diagram that I was just describing there. So as you'll see from that diagram, the NetSuite offers a range of key business functions that we would expect. But not only does it offer a range of key business departments, such as finance, inventory, human resources, and much more, it also has vast capabilities in handling multiple currencies, multiple languages, subsidiaries, and also tax compliances as well. So whether you are currently operating across multiple jurisdictions, perhaps you're aiming to in the future, you can rest assured that NetSuite is a scalable solution that can assist you in your growth ambitions. And as you'll see from the very center of the diagram there, NetSuite is your single data source. So you can rest assured that everyone within the organization is working from one single source of the truth. And as Emma and Thomas had described, of course, that means that everyone is in alignment, and every transaction that is created and posted within NetSuite is ultimately immediately available across the business. So now that we've had a look at what NetSuite can do, let's dive into the system and we'll see some of these capabilities in action. So you should now be seeing our NetSuite home dashboard. For any of you who perhaps haven't seen NetSuite before, this is what you could expect to see from day one after a successful implementation with Eureka Solutions. As Thomas had alluded to there as well, in terms of the suite success methodology, you can expect all of these dashboard functionalities and capabilities, including over 150 out-of-the-box reports as standard with your implementation. The benefit that that has to you as a business, of course, means that you're going to be up and running from day one, able to start enjoying the system, and as Emma has described as well, after some time, becoming more and more comfortable and able to expand your system's capabilities to whatever you require it to do. In terms of our dashboard here, you'll see on the top right, that we are signed in as Andy Morgan, who is our Chief Financial Officer. And I'll do the basis of the demonstration in this role for us today, as it gives us some good insights into some of the visibility and control that we have here. But what we can also see under the roles is a number of out-of-the-box roles that are available. Now, these are fully customizable, so don't worry if you see some that aren't relevant to you or if there's a couple that might be missing from there. But what these allow you to do is to have a basis on which you can build upon to ensure that each member of your organization has the visibility, access, and permissions into the system that they require. And that's really underpinning the point of control and visibility in the assistant within the system, and also making sure that we can run efficient processes with the people that need to be involved in that. Now, this is our home dashboard for our CFO, and it'll give us a very high level, broad range of information relating to the business. But of course, these dashboards are customizable and they do change depending on the role that you're signed in as. So for instance, our sales manager might have different metrics, etc., to our inventory manager, and so on and so forth. It's all about getting the right and most relevant information at the fingertips of your users. At the top of the screen here, you'll see our global search bar. This will allow us to access any point in NetSuite that this role has visibility of. And you can also use things like custom prefixes to easily type in and search for specific transactions or even records within the system. So you can see how we've used our custom prefix for customer, and we can go straight to our customer record. On the left here, we have things like our reminders portlet. So again, efficiently getting you to recent records that you've been in and want to perhaps view and edit again. We have our shortcuts portlet. So a few set up for the CFO here, such as creating an invoice, viewing our chart of accounts, or even making a submission of VAT via the Making Tax Digital portlet. As well as our conventional drop-down menu structure, which allows us to access any key part of the system, you'll also notice the trend within NetSuite of bringing navigational shortcuts to you. And we want to get each of your users to the area of the system that they need to as quickly as possible and with as few clicks as possible as well. Just to talk around the dashboard a little bit, not in too much depth for today, but enough to give you a highlight of what the system can do. On the top left here, we have our reminders portlet. So in the discussion so far, we've mentioned how we have some of those key business processes such as accounts receivable, accounts payable, etc. And Emma had touched on how that's transformed the way that Millwall FC are doing business at the moment. We can see that the system is able to push through the output of those automated workflows into our home dashboard. And it's now prompting me as the CFO to say, you have actionable tasks to do in terms of our approvals, and here's what we need to do. So to highlight that, we can see, for instance, that I have 2 purchase orders to approve. I have an expense report to approve. I don't currently have any journals, but if I did, they would come up here. And we also have some overdue invoices. So if we were to click that hyperlink, what that would do is take me directly to that screen. I'll be able to then review any purchase orders, expense reports, etc. And automatically from there, I'll have the option to approve those as well. So no more sifting through emails, trying to find purchase orders, expenses, etc., and manually replying to say that they're approved with, of course, less control, visibility, and audit capabilities. It's now all in the system, and you're being prompted to say there's a task for you to do. As well as that, we can make use of things such as saved searches in the system. So here we have one set up to say, well, we have 2 invoices, which are now aged over 30 days and for a relatively high amount at £50,000. So that's automatically telling me in terms of our cash flow, hey, maybe we should get looking at this, get in touch with the customers as well. And as Emma had mentioned, with things like our credit control workflows, we can have those automated to send out to customers to say, this invoice is overdue by X amount of days, please make your remittance. And as Emma had mentioned as well, they're already seeing the benefit of that and that customers are paying much quicker. And that, of course, is going to improve our financial position and cash flow as well. What we can also see here is that we have 36 periods to close. One of the key efficiency of NetSuite that we find for those customers that we've implemented for is the ability to integrate your bank feeds for the system to have AI-driven accounts reconciliation to take away the manual headache of having to do that manually and much more quickly go through that period close checklist. And from customers that have successfully implemented NetSuite, we've seen some pretty staggering figures in terms of the efficiency in the period close from up to, I believe, 7 or 8 days, which if you can imagine having that time back to do other things, as Emma had mentioned for Millwall, that's allowing them now to look at other projects which they simply wouldn't have had time for before the system had been implemented. So just looking around as well, as I say, the emphasis is around navigation. So we have our dashboard tiles here. It's quickly and efficiently taking us to all of the important reports within the system. But of course, there are over 150 reports, and we have the ability to see all of those under our drop-down structure. As you would want to see within the system, it's pulling through from reports within the system our key performance indicators. So indicators such as sales, expenses, revenue, etc. We can headline these for easy visualization, such as percentage increase and decrease. We can have comparatives, so we can see, for instance, this month's period versus last month, and that's what drives our percentages as well. We have a number of other portlets showing useful trends and graphs throughout the system. And for any of those organizations listening today that are within, that it is relevant to you, that you're in multiple territories, multiple jurisdictions, you'll see our subsidiary navigator here. So we're currently looking at everything in our parent company consolidated view. With the click of a button, we can select any relevant entity. And what you'll notice now is that all of the information on my dashboard is being seamlessly updated to pull through information only relating to that entity. And what you'll also notice is that there's a currency change. So of course, with Ireland, we are now looking at euro. And NetSuite can have manual imports of currencies, but you can also tie this to Exignite or HSBC as well to pull in automatic foreign exchange rates on a daily basis, ensuring that you have the most up-to-date and accurate figures. By clicking back on our parent company consolidated, you'll notice now that all of that rolls up. We're given that consolidated view back, and it's also rolled that into our base currency of GBP. Again, scrolling through the dashboard, we can see some other useful information. We can see things like our weekly cash projection, and we can see more graphs such as income by period trend. We can easily hover over and see any touch points within the system where we might want to see some more specific data as well. So hopefully that's given you a good snapshot into NetSuite, especially for any of those who haven't seen NetSuite before. And as we've emphasized from today, hopefully this has given you a good look at the enhancements to visibility, efficiency, and also control that the system can offer as well. I'll now hand back over to our Commercial Director, Alan Miles, who's going to tell you a little bit more about ourselves at Eureka Solutions. And then, as mentioned, we'll go on to our question and answer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rory. That was great. And thanks to Thomas and Emma as well for the really insightful session there on the benefits that NetSuite's brought to Millwall in particular. That's great to hear. So to finish off, I am going to just cover a little bit about Eureka Solutions and why you should work with us if you're considering a NetSuite implementation. We'll then cover a few questions. I can see there's a couple in the Q&A there, but if anyone has any questions while I'm covering this part, then please enter them in the Q&A and we'll cover that at the end of the event. So just a bit more background about Eureka Solutions ourselves. So as I mentioned at the start, we're a NetSuite partner. We're a solution provider partner, and that means that we provide the implementation and support and development of NetSuite as a service to our customers, like we did with Emma at Millwall. Since we became a partner in 2012, we've delivered over 120 end-to-end NetSuite implementations across various different industries and types of customers. So I'll give you a feel for what types of customers we work with in a second as well. Now we've reached the highest level of partner status with NetSuite up to 2021 when that award was given out, which was the 5-star partner award. But since then, from 2022 onwards, the focus has been on our accreditation, which is the expertise in ERP accreditation, which we've held since that period on. We cover the whole of the UK, as you can probably tell from Rory and I's accents. We are headquartered up in Scotland in East Kilbride, but we have another office in Gateshead near Newcastle as well. And most of our customers are spread out right across the UK, and lots of them also have international operations as well. Now, our founding principles as a business were to provide great customer service and really be experts in the solutions that we provide. That's backed up by our customer satisfaction rating of 9.7 out of 10, which is actually published live on our website and is based on customer reviews, which are gathered as part of our customer support feedback that we take for every case that's raised for our technical support team. So we're really proud of that, and it just backs up the kind of service that we give to our customers. One of the specialist areas that we focus on is integrating other systems. I mentioned that in her session, where we have our own product called Syncly, which is completely developed and supported by Eureka Solutions. And we can use that to integrate NetSuite with other applications that you use across the business. And we have out-the-box connectors for systems such as e-commerce platforms, Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, ticketing systems, like Emma mentioned, Ticketmaster and Secutix is another one that we've worked with closely, and CRM systems such as Salesforce and HubSpot as well, and lots more. We can essentially then connect any sort of third-party system that you might use with NetSuite to share data, whether it's transactional or records such as customers and supplier information. In terms of the customers we work with, obviously you've heard from Emma today, one of many sporting related customers that we have across football, golf as well, in terms of St Andrews Links and the R&A down the first column there. We also work with a lot of hospitality and entertainment companies. So 3 examples there of Lane 7, who are a multi-entity, multinational bowling and entertainment venue operator. Flight Club Darts, some of you may have been there as well. So Social Darts, as they're known for, various venues across the UK and internationally now. Their growth has been pretty phenomenal over the last 5 years that we've been working with them. And then Eden are a hospitality provider, so they operate various locations across Europe, which are apart hotels and long stay hotels as well. We also work with a lot of customers across technology and life sciences as well. So people like Emerald Technology, Amphista Therapeutics, Dotmatics, who are a provider of technology solutions to the life sciences industry as well. And then we have retail, e-commerce and distribution as well. Some examples there, we have Cloud9 Hair, who provide hair straighteners, which I have no need for, but learned a lot about as part of that discussion with them. Gym King, who are fashion-based, and Jacuzzi, who you probably know for their hot tubs. We work with the UK operation of Jacuzzi as well in our NetSuite implementation. So we work across other industries as well, but these are some of the key ones, people that you may have heard of, and good examples across our customer base. You've already heard from Emma and Thomas in terms of and Rory about the tangible benefits. Just to highlight some of the other ones that we found from our case studies. So it was great to hear about the results that Emma and the team have achieved at Millwall just in a short few months since the system went live. With our case studies, we have examples here of Connect, for example, within the first 2 years have implemented NetSuite, their turnover increased by 146%, and they didn't have to add any bodies into the finance team, thanks to the efficiencies that NetSuite had brought to the team. So that is the ultimate aim, I think, is to grow a business but not grow your cost base at the same rate as you're growing the revenue, just to become more profitable. Reducing month end is always one of the key KPIs that we see when customers are looking to implement a new system. They're usually looking to shorten that to allow the team to focus on more important tasks and then distribute the reports across the business much earlier, as Emma has mentioned. That's been a key thing for Millwall as well. So usually our customers are reducing it down from 3-4 weeks down to a week or 2 weeks at the most, depending on the situation. So these can all be found on our website. If you have a look on our website, there's various case studies there that all back up these proven benefits that NetSuite can bring to businesses that are moving from either legacy on-premise systems or entry-level accounting solutions that don't provide all the benefits that we've discussed today. And that is it in terms of the content. So thank you very much to everybody that's attended. We'll cover a few questions now, just to see if we can answer them. So let's have a look at the Q&A. Okay, so we have a question on integration. So we mentioned a question about Salesforce. I've actually answered that live there. So Salesforce for CRM. So NetSuite, as we mentioned, can actually provide CRM functionality, as Rory mentioned at the start. There is a CRM module there. So ideally, you would have your CRM system within the same system as your finance solution. But if you happen to be using a system such as Salesforce or HubSpot, which I mentioned as well, then yes, there is an option to integrate that and still use your CRM system that you have in place at the moment rather than replacing it with NetSuite. Obviously, we would review NetSuite as a potential option with you as well, because actually we use it ourselves as our CRM system, so it's proven to work as a really good solution. But if you have a system, then that's where we come in with our own integration platforms. So for Salesforce, for example, we can synchronize customer information, opportunities, sales orders, products, pricing, that kind of idea, just to make sure that data on the customer management side of things is synchronized between your CRM platform and NetSuite. So hopefully that answers that question for you. There was also a question on AI. So I know, Thomas, you mentioned a bit about AI in your section there. And you mentioned like being able to develop solutions quicker and use it as to automate processes. But there's a question on what are some tangible use cases for AI in relation to finance systems. I can provide a bit of kind of answer to that as well. But what would you say, Thomas, would be the kind of key use cases that Oracle have looked at for AI?
Sure, and I guess you have to go back to the actual foundation of NetSuite and Oracle and AI. So AI is everywhere. Like the entire platform is available for AI. And there are tools in place. And so that partners like yourself, Alan, can build and use these tools and for your customers. It's even where customers themselves will be able to, I was talking about AI code, you're able to use that as well. So already they've been releasing things, for instance, on text enhanced type stuff. So this is where, on certain description fields and things like that, you can just put a few words in and actually ask AI to develop the description. And then you could enhance it, you could reduce it, that type of stuff. And one of the key things they learned early on was because they wanted people to try this type of stuff, they even put an undo button in. So let's undo it. Let's just go back to what type of thing. So they did that, and there's a lot of stuff within some of the tools that Oracle have already done where it's using kind of the data itself, like helping to do the analysis and things like this. So there's all these various things that's all there, and it's now whether it's our product people actually use the tools that's already there and then build out functionality, but then our partners are using it and customers are using it already as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I've just had to, it is quite early days. There's plenty coming with AI, there's plenty there already. And I think as more customers adopt it, then we'll come up with more tangible, beneficial use cases for AI as well, in terms of just making everybody's life easier, in terms of visibility, the things we've mentioned, efficiency and visibility in particular.
And I guess, Emma, I wanted to ask you about that, which is you probably haven't even started using the AI that's necessarily within NetSuite, but we've always talked about the foundation, right? You get used to the system, get it implemented, start using it. And then when we talk about all those improvements, oh, you're able to actually use it, whether it's AI or not AI and things like that. Is that an approach that you think finance people, kind of prefer?
Yeah, I think we definitely have to move on with AI. I think AI is going to be it could be scary, could be doing our jobs in a few years' time because it is an analyzing tool that that's all what we want to be able to do is put the data in and analyze it. We've used, as you mentioned, the AI on the description fields when we put in, that we've put a very brief description and then AI's made it a lot more prettier and a much better description of what some of our limited English language skills can do. So it makes it look great, and if we can put it in the future, then I think we're all on board for that.
Yeah, that's great.
And just one final question before we wrap up, where we have you, Emma, as well as how long a typical NetSuite implementation can take. So for us, it does vary in terms of what you're going to implement. It's a quite a wide-ranging system, ranging from a kind of core finance system through to full ERP functionality, CRM, like I've mentioned, in other areas. But for you, I think, Emma, the implementation was it between May and October, I think you looked at? So it was over a kind of 5-month period, I think we looked at.
Yeah, and I think that that was down more to us to we could have done a much speedier implementation, but with a very small team and obviously a year end in between that as well, we spread it out a bit so it wasn't so painful. And actually the team at Eureka really made it as easy as possible. We're very patient, and some of the data that I had to fill in, wasn't in the correct place, but they helped me to put it in. So it wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. And when we switched it on for go live, and I'm printing off a management accounts actual versus budget for the first time ever by department by match, it was amazing. Probably your guys are probably overwhelmed by how much I was very, very happy on that day one that I actually saw some improvement from the off.
And a lot of that is all comes standard. The hard part with deciding how long an implementation is going to be is how much do you change from standard? And if it's a legal requirement or helps you beat your competition, absolutely. If it's a huge process efficiency that you want to change before go live, absolutely. But the whole idea is that you can actually get up and go live and then make improvements later on. It's not like the old days where you had to build a system for the next 3 to 5 years. You just need to build it to go live, start getting used to it, and then you'll go up the stairway.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. So that brings us to the end of the session. So I just want to say thank you to all of our presenters. It's really been insightful, and hopefully everybody that's attended today has taken some great points away and will empathise with a lot of the points that we've made today as well. So yeah, thanks for everyone for joining, and yeah, thanks again.
Thanks all.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.